It was a night at Old Trafford that could only be described as nothing short of a footballing fever dream. A narrative so absurd it seemed to transcend logic. Yet here we are. Manchester United had just been pushed to the absolute brink. Lyon, on the ropes with 10 men and 2 goals down on aggregate, were minutes away from a serene passage into the semi-finals. Then, in the blink of an eye, the impossible occurred. And it wasn't just the players on the pitch who were defying all odds. It was the very fabric of this European tie unraveling into one of the most thrilling spectacles the competition had ever seen. United, having been in control for much of the first half, were suddenly unraveling in front of their home crowd. A 2-goal lead, a ticket to the semi-finals, and an opportunity to secure Champions League football were all slipping away like sand through their fingers. It was not just the goals that were rattling their cage, but the feeling of inevitability. Lyon were coming for them. Rayan Cherki had just smashed home an incredible strike, bringing the aggregate level, and then Alexandre Lacazette, cool as you like, slotted a penalty. At that point, it was as though the winds of fate had changed direction, and United were watching their season spiral into oblivion. But in the madness of it all, the game took a turn no one could have foreseen. It started with the smallest glimmer of hope, a penalty for United after a clumsy foul on Casemiro. Bruno Fernandes, ever the cool operator, stepped up and fired home, keeping United's hopes alive. But just when it seemed like that moment of reprieve was a cruel tease, the unthinkable happened. Kobbie Mainoo, a young man who had barely blinked in the face of the biggest stage, picked up a loose ball in the box, and with a finish that seemed too composed for someone of his years, slotted it past the keeper. One more goal, just like that, and suddenly United were breathing once more. The Old Trafford crowd was electric. The stage was set for something more, something greater. Enter Harry Maguire. Yes, the man who's often the subject of ridicule, the man whose name has been dragged through the mud more times than we can count, found himself in the middle of the action. A cross from Casemiro, inch perfect, found Maguire's head as though it had been written in the stars. He didn't hesitate. He didn't flinch. The ball met his forehead and, in a moment of sheer drama, it found its way into the back of the net. The roar from the crowd was deafening, a cacophony of disbelief and elation. The improbable had happened. The impossible had been achieved. And just like that, Manchester United, with one of the most bizarre lineups and tactical decisions in recent memory, Harry Maguire, centre forward, had somehow scraped their way into the semi-finals. It wasn't just the result that would haunt Lyon for days to come. It was the way in which they lost. A team that had been so close to glory, so close to knocking out one of Europe's biggest clubs, was undone in a matter of seconds, in a manner so brutal it will make for legend in the years to come. The consequences for United, however, couldn't be overstated. This win wasn't just a passage into the next round, it was their lifeline. The Europa League was their only shot at salvaging their season, and this was no time for second chances. Their Premier League campaign was in tatters, their performances inconsistent, and the pressure was mounting. Yet here they were, with their backs against the wall, fighting not only for European glory, but for the financial boon that would guarantee Champions League football for the next season. To say the stakes couldn't have been higher would be an understatement. Athletic Club of Bilbao awaits them in the semi-finals, and there's no escaping the magnitude of what's to come.